Hello everybody, I'm Chip and welcome to a Bloons Tower Defense 6 tier list video. So today, I'm going to be going through how I feel about each tower and what their general power ranking is. Now this may not be perfect because, my opinion could be a little bit biased based on my experiences and also based on the heroes that I prefer to use because each hero has a different playstyle. So I'm just going to preface this by saying the main hero that I use is actually a teen, and recently I've been using Psy, and Pat Fusty is also pretty fun. So those are the three heroes that I will use the most, but of course I'm going to try to avoid talking about these towers and heroes and just separate them in isolation. What does the tower do? So here's a quick note from the future about the rankings in this tier list. After making the video, and now that I've spent some time editing it, I've thought about the rankings more, and I don't completely agree with all of them anymore. So I'm leaving the video as it is. Please just feel free to watch it and listen to my opinions. But at the end of the video, I'm also just going to insert a different ending with a different tier list. It's very slight moderations, but you'll see. Just like maybe one or two tier differences for a few towers. Anyways, thanks for coming and enjoy the rest of the video. So let's just jump right in with the first monkey, the best boy, the Dart Monkey. This tower is super cheap. It's a bunch of solid stuff early game. You can just put him down and he'll hold the first few rounds for you and you have nothing to worry about. Dart Monkey is solid. Now his final upgrades are certainly cheaper than all the other towers, but I wouldn't say that he is your carry tower in most scenarios. So I'm going to put him at a solid A tier. This seems like a good monkey. He's not going to be your main focus, but you can always rely on your boy Dart Monkey. He's got your back. Now we'll move on to the Boomerang Monkey. Personally, I use him the most as an opening tower. I feel like it's really solid. He's able to hold the first few rounds, not really much to worry about. And his upgrades, all three trees are pretty solid in my opinion. You can go top tree for lots of wave clear and he'll just pop a bunch of balloons really fast. You can go middle tree for crazy damage. He'll do really high DPS and just shreds through Moabs. And you can go bottom tier, and if you place him right on the map, the Boomerang will wipe out an entire lane. And holding back Moabs is always a solid thing to do for a relatively cheap price compared to the other towers that do that, like the Ice Monkey or the Glue Monkey. So I'm actually going to put this as S tier. Maybe this is a little too high, but Boomerang Monkey is one of my favorite towers, so he's going up there. Next, move on to the Bomb Shooter. I'm a little conflicted because I used to use the Bomb Shooter the most. This was my go-to tower for everything, but recently it's fallen off. It's still really solid, and if you go middle tree for the extra Moab damage, it will do a lot of damage to Moabs. In certain scenarios, it's good to have the top or bottom for like popping a lot of balloons or for stunning the balloons so another tower can take care of them, like with Sada for example. But I don't usually feel like I need to have a Bomb Shooter though, so I'm just going to put the Bomb Shooter in B for bomb. Just kidding. It's also just a solid tower, but I don't think it's anything super special or super crazy. It could go in A, but I'm going to leave it in B. The Tack Shooter. This one is also interesting because I never used to use this tower, and then recently I've picked it up and it's actually pretty solid if you use it right. Just putting it down as like a tier 1 and sitting on the ground, it's pretty bad, not gonna lie. It shoots out like 8 spikes, and the balloons will oftentimes just dodge them and just like sit in between the spikes, so you're gonna miss a lot of the shots. But if you're able to go down bottom tree into 2, and then you can go top tree, which is what I usually do, go for the fire. Actually getting to tier 4 fire is not excessively expensive and does a pretty good amount of work on certain maps. So I would say this one's kind of map specific because the balloons have to be going around the tower, but if you get a good spot for it, it's pretty high. If you don't have a good spot for it, it's pretty low. Kind of depends on the map you're in. So I'll put this B. It can go either way in my opinion, up or down. The Ice Monkey. So this one will not do that much early game. I feel like he just freezes all the balloons, and then a lot of the early towers don't have lead popping power yet, so you're just kind of losing damage by buying this early in most scenarios. It's better to wait, and I often buy this on chimps to stop the DDTs from just zooming through my defenses because he slows them down a pretty fair amount, so I'm able to take them out easily. It is a little bit expensive to go for that tier 5 bottom tree, but it does feel worth it in my opinion. Besides the bottom tree though, I don't feel like the other trees are anything super special. I mean, being able to slow all the balloons in an area is decent, and being able to put normal land monkeys on the water is interesting, but I haven't really needed to do that at any point so far. Maybe on the higher expert maps that I haven't touched as much, this becomes more valuable. And then top tree, removing camo. Maybe this is my bias of using a teen and stuff, but I don't really feel like I need that. But he is the key to clearing chimps on a lot of my maps. So again, I'm going to put this in a B tier. He's a solid monkey and he does his job really good. He puts out a lot of damage when you go bottom tree, but don't think it's super special besides bottom tree. So B for bottom. Glue Monkey. This one, in my opinion, feels like a ice monkey that you can get earlier in the game, and it's okay, but it's never as good as the ice monkey for slowing down Moabs like I use the ice monkey for. And I don't usually feel like I need the slowing on normal balloons, so His tier 5s are solid. Top tree does a lot of damage. The middle tree extra damage is nice to have, but it's nothing that you need. And bottom tree, it did get a cost reduction recently, but I still feel like it's just worse than the Ice Monkey because Ice Monkey also does damage. And it's like a similar price point. So I'm going to put this on C tier. I don't really use the Glue Monkey, but there are scenarios where you need him, especially on like extra maps or daily missions. So he does have some uses, but he's not great. Sniper Monkey. This one is so good. Sniper Monkey, all 3 of his trees are really good. He's solid across the board. He's cheap. You can get him early. He's one of the cheapest lead popping in the game besides Bomb Shooter. So if you need to get lead popping really early, go for this man. Just hit him to strong. He'll take care of the leads for you until you get something better. He also has that super crazy range. He just pops everything on the map. Of course, it's hard to use on some maps because of walls and obstacles, but in general, on most maps, he's a really solid monkey. And I think we got another S tier right here. Do cripple Moabs, stop those Moabs. He got lots of AoE with the middle tree and extra cash generation. And then bottom tree, Elite Defender, does so much damage. It's actually insane. Sniper Monkey, S tier right away. Submarine. This one is another monkey that I never used in the beginning of the game because I never needed it. It felt like a worse version of the pirate ship, but after I used it a bit, I give it some trial, I feel like it's actually solid. His damage output is respectable and the range is really nice to have. So the Submarine Monkey puts in solid amount of work. You go 2 in the top and then fill out the bottom tier. He'll do a good chunk of damage to a lot of balloons. Middle tree, if you use his active properly, puts in the work, but it's harder to do, of course, than the bottom tree, which just shoots things. And I feel like in most scenarios, you don't want to go middle and bottom, but of course you can. And if you do, his damage is even crazier. I think on a map with water available, you should always get at least 1 submarine. There's no reason not to. Solid A tier. He's not available everywhere, so you can't always rely on this tower. But when you can, put him there. Pirate Monkey. This monkey is another one of those golden monkeys. He's just so good. If there's water on the map, just put a Pirate Monkey. He just does everything you need him to do. He can detect camo, he can pop leads, he's got good wave clear, he can do a lot of damage if you go top. His range is pretty crazy, he gets good cash generation with bottom tier. He can just instantly pop any Moab with the hook. It's just so good. There's no reason not to go a Pirate Monkey if there's water available. For me, this is another easy S tier. I see Pirate Monkey as one of the best monkeys. Helicopter. This is another really good monkey in my opinion. Being able to track balloons along the entire path and constantly be hitting them makes it so good for when you're hitting something that's an area you don't really want to place towers because it's kind of hard or like not a good area to put towers. Then you just have a helicopter and he'll just hit them anyways because you're always hitting the balloons. One thing I'll note about this is you kind of always have to go top tree, at least 2. I think Pursuit is just so good. I don't want to have to be tracking with my hand. Kind of makes it difficult. And you don't usually need to do 2 middle, 2 bottom anyways, unless it's like a special map. I think Helicopter Monkey is so good. Top tree does solid amount of damage. It's a bit expensive to go tier 4, but if you can manage it and get to it, he will put out good amount of damage. Tier 5 does so much, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for a normal game. It's mostly a free play thing. Middle tree, tier 3 for the wind pulses that push back balloons. So good. The one downside to the helicopter monkey is that he's a tower that will track the balloons, but if there's multiple paths, he'll like dash between the multiple paths and try to hit whatever is first with pursuit. So it's a little bit difficult to use him on maps with multiple paths. So a map with multiple paths, I would say is probably like C tier. You kind of don't want this at all because he's not going to do much unless you're manually controlling him, which you can do. It's just a lot harder to do. But on a general map where it's just a single path to follow, bro, this is S tier. But considering I can't just put it S tier if he's not always good, I'm going to say A tier. Solid monkey. I would love to put it S, but there's some maps where it's just not feasible. So the monkey ace. This one has me a bit conflicted because in like free play and if you put a bunch of money into this, he's actually one of the highest damage towers. Like bottom tree does so much damage. But the thing is, his other two trees are pretty underwhelming, I think. There's a lot of like micro you have to do to get the top tree to do anything, and bottom tree, or middle tree, I mean, you have to place him like the perfect spot on the map, which isn't always possible. It's kind of hard to do. So I usually just go bottom tree if I use this at all. But even still, you have to get to tier 4 for it to be more damage than you would get with another tower. So I usually just don't use this at all unless I can just instantly buy up to tier 4 on the bottom tree, which is a lot of money, and that's not something you usually have access to in a normal game. But there are definitely some benefits of this, where he shoots out a lot of darts over the entire map, and being able to hit balloons despite any terrain is solid. It's in some scenarios it can be good, but I don't think it's usually good. I think this is going to have to be our first F tier monkey. I don't like the monkey ace. The Mortar Monkey. This one, again, I feel like this is even worse than the ace. He can do damage if you go middle tree. He's decent, but the fact that he only hits a certain spot on the map, like you have to manually move him, and it feels like a bit clunky, like click on him, lock, click, click, like, I don't know. It's a bit hard to like track him along balloons, and then also his damage isn't anywhere close to some of these other towers generally. There's some spots where you kind of have to have him, like the moon map. You can just put him down, set him in the middle, and he'll just blow up all the balloons while they're running in circles. So something like that, he's good, but that's one map. We can't give him a good rating because of one map. On most maps, it's not a good tower. Bottom tree is actually usable because removing camo and removing fortification is actually really good. So if you have a map where you're having trouble because of fortified balloons, give this guy a go. He'll actually remove fortification, and that in itself does a lot of damage technically. But you could also just pop the fortification with another monkey, so like doesn't really need it. And yeah, I think it's just not a very good tower. It's too hard to use. F tier. Dartling Gunner. This man is thick. He puts in work. Top tree, bad. Bottom tree, okay. Middle tree is one of the best trees in the game, and there's no reason why you shouldn't go it. You do have to control him yourself, but in general that's not really a problem because you kind of just put your mouse on the balloons and he just pops them. You just have to watch out for putting him too far away so he loses accuracy, and for, you know, if you're like not paying attention, the balloons are gonna just get through. So you have to kind of pay attention to the map and point at the balloons, but it's pretty easy to do. Not gonna lie. He does so much damage. Middle tree is like a lot of damage, and it's not so expensive you can't afford it. Like you can usually just put down a Dartling Gunner and you know he's gonna put in work. So if we're just going off of middle tree, this is an S tier, I think. If you consider his other two trees are not very good, Top tree is good at popping normal balloons. Bottom tree is good for auto targeting, so you can get that target independent and it'll just shoot, and then you can just go back to auto play and not have to worry about pointing your mouse. But it loses a lot of range, so it has to be really close up. I'm not sure if I should put this in A or S. Maybe S is too much, because it's a pretty good tower, but only has one usable tree. Some of the other S tier monkeys, you can go all 3 trees and you can expect it to do good. If you just put him down and go middle tree every time, I think it's solid. I'm gonna put him in A tier. This is a good monkey. He's not super expensive and he puts in damage. You just don't really want to go top or bottom tree most of the time. And now for the magic monkey. This one is actually really good. This guy puts in so much damage. He's solid early, you can put him down and he'll hold the first few rounds. Nothing you really have to worry about. He can pop leads pretty early, he can pop camos pretty early. Top tree does a bunch of damage and he pops over walls so that you can get some interesting placements with him on like difficult maps. Middle tree with that fire breath will just shred balloons. He will put in so much damage. And bottom tree it's kind of a fun gimmick, and also removing camo is solid. His damage is, you know, respectable. You have to watch out for the necromancer. I will usually go top or middle, but you can go bottom. And it also works with like popping balloons on another part of a track as well. He can pop them somewhere that's kind of out of his range. So I think it's a solid monkey, and I would never really have a problem with someone going magic monkey. I'm not sure if this is S or A. I might put this in S because magic monkey is just good. There's no reason not to go magic monkey. All 3 tiers are respectable. Super monkey has me conflicted like some of these other ones because his highs and his lows. Like base super monkey, he throws a lot of darts. It's decent. but it's $2,000. Most of his upgrades are pretty expensive, so you have to focus on Super Monkey. If you put time and money into him, he does work. He is really good. He can have one of the highest pop counts in the game. But also, getting the Vengeful Sun God is like $1 million. That's free play only. It's not even relevant. The highest you're really going to get is like tier 3 top tree, which is like Sun Temple. You can go Robo Monkey. He gets so much range. And you can go bottom tree for Moab damage. It's solid. I would usually go those two. To be honest, I don't really use the Super Monkey as much as I probably should because it doesn't feel as good because it's so expensive. Some of these other towers just do the same stuff for cheaper. I kind of want to rate this B, so I think I'm actually going to put the Super Monkey in A. I'm debating if I should put him in B, but it feels wrong to put him in A because he does have one of the highest damage outputs. I just don't get him all the time because he's so expensive. Like, it's hard to justify it all the time when you could just use these other monkeys that are a little cheaper to get. So next is Ninja Monkey. This one is really good actually. One of the most popular strats in the game was Ninja Alchemist. You just put the two together. Ninja can just do a bunch of damage and clear everything and you have no problem. It's been nerfed with the Alchemist, but that's the Alchemist tree. So we're focusing solely on the Ninja in isolation. Early camo detection, it's like one of the cheapest camo detections you can get. He pops a fair amount of balloons, especially you go top tree, he just shreds through them. The middle tree is kind of It's pretty expensive to be practical if you're going for like tier 3 or up, but just having the distraction is okay. But you could also just go top tree and pop them instead of distracting them, so there's not really a point here. Camo removal is nice though if you don't have any other camo detection. Bottom tree is actually usable, I think. It's like not bad. If you just go like the first two with top tree, he'll do so much damage and he'll always hit his shurikens. If you go further, like he'll stun balloons, which is good with Sada and good as like CC is for a support. And it's also good as like just blowing up a Moab instantly. Ninja Monkey is a solid monkey. Usually just go 2 in the bottom and then everything else in top tree. But his other trees are usable. I think Ninja Monkey's actually A. I haven't used him as much recently because I've just been relying on other monkeys. But if you want to rely on Ninja Monkey, you can basically always fall back on Ninja Alchemist combo and it will get the job done. Alchemist Monkey. This one is really good when paired with a tower that can't pop leads but really wants to be able to pop leads, like some of the Dart Monkey trees, the Ninja Monkey. It's like there's a few towers that paired with this is really good. But because of the changes recently where it's only a certain number of darts instead of a timer for how long the potion lasts, it actually falls a lot in my priorities. Most of the towers you want it on just throw out a bunch of darts and just pop things really quick. But now it's encouraged to put it on a slower shooting tower, but the slower shooting towers are generally able to pop leads anyways, like a sniper or a cannon, so it's not as powerful as it used to be, but I will still say Alchemist is really good. The extra damage and extra range, it's a good monkey for top tree. If we're looking at middle tree, I hardly ever use middle tree beyond tier 2. And if we're looking at bottom tree, he'll give you some extra income and he can help you speed up the spamming of vials, but not anything to write home about. Really, the Alchemist's only redeeming quality is top tree, and you can use the first 2 of his other trees as like a support. And if you're just trying to have fun, it's fun to see every balloon turn gold or every ZOMG turn into a red balloon, but that stuff's expensive and not really practical in a normal game. I'll put this as B tier. Pairing him with a ninja with his top tree is really good, but anything else he does, kind of meh. The Druid is another tower that I don't usually purchase, but when you need him, he's really good. His best use, in my opinion, is, I believe it's Apocalypse, where you get a bunch of regen balloons thrown at you. So you can just put down an Alchemist, go lightning and regen removal, and he'll just strike every balloon. None of them have regen anymore, and it's not that expensive. You can get it relatively early. It's also nice to have the Tornado that pushes balloons back. He's one of the few towers that can do that. And his bottom tree, when you put down a few Druids, does so much damage, but that's really expensive to get it going and it's not always practical. And his middle tree is just bad. It gives you some extra cash generation, but the damage is nowhere near anything else you could get, so I see no purpose for it. I think Druid's another C tier tower. He has his uses, and when you need him, he's really good. The wave clear you get from that lightning, just chain jumping between everybody, is good, but everything else he does is kind of bland. Banana Farm. This is one of those towers that depends on the lens you look at it from. If you're looking at chimps, you can't use it at all. F tier. It just doesn't exist. If we're just trying to clear a map and get to the end, like around 60, around 80, whatever, you don't usually need one, but you can never really go wrong. What I would usually do would hit round 40, you have your solid monkeys set up, and you put down this upgrade top tree a bit and just get some money, and it speeds up your income after like around 60. So it does help, but you need an initial investment, and then you have to get your money back that you got from it. And then if we look at it from a fun standpoint though, it's actually a really fun tower. Just getting money and seeing like the income. You're just like, I have so many bananas. I can just throw bananas everywhere. I just have so much money. This is so exciting. I love having so much money. You just go banks and you can put down farms and you can get extra life back with the bottom tree when you have some monkey knowledge. And pairing it with a pirate ship's bottom tree, you'll get a lot of money. But it's not really necessary in most maps. If you're going into free play though, you need one of these. You have to have a lot of income to get these expensive tier 5 upgrades like Vengeful Sun God or like tier 5 of Tack Factory or Monkey Ace. So again, it depends on the lens you look at it from. You want to have fun, it's pretty good. You want to go into free play, it's pretty good. If you want to just clear normal maps, it's not very good. You don't usually need it. I think this might be a C tier tower. In my heart, it's S tier. But for practical use in normal clearing maps, which is what we're looking at here, it's a C tier tower because you don't usually need it. You can do it if you want and it's fun, but it's not really necessary. Tack factories. This one is so good. Every tree is usable on this. Top tree does so much damage and really helps with those ceramics if they like trying to get through. Just put down the top tree, those little spike balls would just blow it up. You're good. He can also pop camos, he can pop leads, he can do lots of damage to Moabs if you go middle tree, and covering the whole map in spikes is really good for like a round you weren't expecting that you weren't prepared for, and he'll just help a lot with that. And then bottom tree, you just put him down with an Alchemist. You go as much in the bottom as you can, you go 2 in the middle, and then put an Alchemist with him on like top tree so he can pop leads, and he'll take care of all of the DDTs for you. They just run into it and instantly pop. Spike Factory is a solid S or A tier. You can almost always put down a Spike Factory and can't really complain about it. I will say A tier though, because it's not going to be your main DPS in most scenarios. Like it's a really good sub DPS, let's say, or like backup because it puts out a lot of damage and pops a lot of things. It's like taking care of specific types of balloons that you don't have access to popping. Monkey Village. This one depends on what towers you're running and what heroes you're running. Personally, I have recently been using a lot of primary monkeys, so going top tree is actually pretty good, but if you're not going primary monkeys, top tree is actually useless beyond the first 2 points into it. If you're running someone like a teen as your hero, you don't need the camo from middle tree at all, and the ability to stop regens isn't always useful unless you're putting him kind of far away on the map and just like put it down and buy this and leave it there. But again, I don't usually feel like regens are a problem, especially because to maximize the use of this village, you want to have it near monkeys, which means the monkeys are going to be hitting regrows anyways, so like why do you really need the regen stopping? It's niche and has its uses, but it's not always relevant. Middle tree, they're really good when you get to the higher levels because that homeland defense is like so much damage boost, but it just feels bad to buy the camo detection if you don't need it. Bottom tree gives you a lot of money back if you use it properly, but it's not something you can just put down, buy, and expect use out of. You have to plan for it. And if you go further with that, you'll actually get a lot of money back. And the free dart monkeys is fun. It's really fun to just see free dart monkeys and cover the map in them. Not really practical, but I enjoy it. So from a fun standpoint, bottom tree, super fun. Get a lot of cash flow, you get a lot of free dart monkeys. It's good stuff. I'm going to put this in B tier. You don't always need one. If you get one, you know it'll help you. Extra range, extra damage, and when you need it, it's there for you, and it'll protect you, and it'll be so good. But you don't always need it again. You can just build different types of towers in most scenarios. So B tier, it's solid, but it's nothing insane. And now, last but not least, we got the Engineer Monkey. Since close to my heart as a fellow engineer, I feel you, Engineer Monkey. I think this monkey has his ups and downs, I guess. Top tree doesn't do that much damage. It got changed recently, but it's still nothing that I've used that much. Middle tree, the range is pretty nice to have, and if you place them correctly, the cleansing foam is actually solid, but it's not the most reliable way to take care of these leads and camos, so it's not always great. Overclock is really good though, especially if you get the tier 5 and just permanent overclock, but again, that's a free play thing. You're not going to have that in a normal game. And bottom tree The pinning of balloons is nice, and he'll actually do good damage here with lots of pierce and pins, but he doesn't do much to mobs with that tree until you get like extra large traps, which you get in his free play. So it's a fun tower, and it's cool to have, but I wouldn't say it's anything that you need to use. So this is either B or C. Maybe I'll put it C. It's an okay monkey. He has his uses, and when you need him, he's really good. Alright, so as promised, here is the few changes I made to the tier list. So I feel like I was a little bit too harsh on the ace and the mortar. They're better than I give them credit for. I still don't like the mortar, and in my heart he's still F tier, but I think he's usable, and I don't think I could actually put him lower than some of these other ones in C tier because he's similar value to them. And the ace, his bottom tree does a lot of work. It's so good. Again, I don't really like his top two trees, but bottom tree is really good, and some of the other towers up here are only there because of one tree, so I think it's perfectly fine to put him in B tier. Ninja, I moved him down one tier as well. He could still be an A. He's a good tower, but in the background footage that I was showing, I had trouble with him actually more than I thought I would. Maybe my expectations were too high, but he wasn't doing as much as I wanted. In the end, he's also another one tree tower. The other two trees are kind of niche. So this is the final tier list. I think I'm pretty satisfied with how it is now, and this is what I'm going to go with. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. If you agree with my opinions, if you disagree, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you very much for making it here. And stay tuned for more content. There may be some more Minecraft content, some more Bloons Tower Defense tutorials, anything else that I'm feeling. Just follow the channel and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.